Social, political, and religious condition of the 14th century. The age of Chaucer or the 14th century was a period of great political, social, religious, and literary activity. The age of Chaucer covers the period from 1340 to 1400. It was a period of transition and turbulence. This period witnessed remarkable social, religious, and political changes. In the Chaucerian age, the term Chaucerian came from the name of Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of English literature and poetry. After the fall of Old Age was followed by a Middle Age period and the emergence of Chaucer. English language came into the existence and became the language of court and the language of world by now. The influence of French and Italian affected the life of Chaucer. The first half of the 14th century deals with the territorial ambitions of Edward III. The Hundred Years' War, which began in 1338, and so many upheavals took place in this period that shook the social and political sphere. The age of Chaucer is marked as follows. Social condition. The 14th century society was divided into three traditional states: the church, the nobility, and the working class. The church was the most powerful institution and owned a third of the property. Taken together, the crown, the nobility, and the church owned about 75% English land, and the rest was working people and others. In the middle of the 14th century, the society and its people faced a huge destruction with the coming of the plague called Black Death, in which more than a quarter of population died in England, and agriculture went back. The English native people began to move to other safe regions where they could at least live a better life by farming and other sources. There also occurred many significant events such as famine, revolts in Flanders, Lollard movement, and the most effective movement that was the Hundred Years' War that led a critical situation in the life of common people. Thus, social state of England in the 14th century clearly portrays bad days and extreme restrictions for common people. Political sphere. It was a period of 100 Years' War which released consciousness and patriotism in England. Before Chaucer, there was no national language but by the influence of his genius, eloquence, he raised English language into a force to be the language of law and courts in national level. Later it became not only the language of a particular nation but also the world. English common people of the time gave up the hope to live a better life during the wars and battle that was led by Edward III, the King of England. Edward III received the victory on French soil, separating England from France. French lost its official prestige and English became the speech not only of the common people but also of the courts and parliaments as well. With these huge changes in England, it was also known as the Age of Transition. It changed from medieval to modern. Characteristically, England was medieval but war, national spirit, and religion took the shape of development. Apart from the king, parliament was established to possess some authoritative power to take decision of the court and law, and corruption of church started decline. Thus, politically it is said crystal clear to have changed the epoch from medieval to modernity. Religious status. At the time of Chaucer, religiously, it has reached to a high corruption. The office of the Pope was still extremely powerful and the church was a major social and cultural force of the period. Political and natural disasters and the religious. state was completely in the hand of Pope, who paved the way to go. Pope had the power to appoint bishops. It was considered by the people that the priest would communicate to God to release souls from purgatory. People had a blind faith in the religious that was imposed by priests. With the coming of Black Death in the age of Chaucer, the position of church began to weaken slowly, and people, for the first time, went on to show the sign of discontent and lost their interest against the churchmen. Religious revolt came into England at this era that was led under the command of a prominent member of the establishment, John Wycliffe. He had a great religious faith who first translated Bible. He was an Oxford scholar. Wycliffe became a great threat to English church in the last decades of the century. He started Lollard movement and Lollards were the follower of Wycliffe. Thus, in a nutshell, we can sum up the entire social, political, and religious condition of England in the 14th century appears prominent face on English history and completely changed the period from medieval to modern.